Now guys, showing you the finished product of the Cinelli Palio bike. This is my Superbike, if I can call it that, and everything as you're about to see is Superbike like, but then we'll talk about it. So this is a bike I was thinking about for a long time, because I had previously many bikes, but never a road specific long rides, a bike for long rides. So I wanted a bike for that, but I was not quite satisfied with everything that was on the market to acquire. So I decided to make one myself, as I always do, because I find myself always loving assembling and making my own things, at least assembling them, right? So I decided, and I'll switch the bike around in a minute. So I decided to go for a bike for long distances, and because I already had the single speed Specialized, which was for short sprints on the traffic and really dangerous rides on the traffic. Let's call it traffic attack. But I never had a road bike for long distances. I had mountain bikes, BMXs, but never one like this. So when I was thinking about what kind of route to take, I'd like a bike for, as I said, long distances, but also not lightweight specific, but not aero specific. I wanted something that could be kind of universal on that manner. Then I also wanted it to be of good quality, and at the same time, how can I say it, future proof. So I wanted the best possible, but I wanted these best things to be future proof, meaning that if I want to switch something or upgrade something on the future, I would be able to with no issue whatsoever. So I started searching for, I started with the wheels, but I didn't buy them until I was sure about the frame set. I wanted something with a bit of history, and but well, if I could finding, all the best, all the better. If I couldn't, what a shame, right? But I found out after a lot of frames, I passed through a lot of frames, I found out that Cinelli made this frame set, which I'm more and more, it's growing on me, this frame set. I didn't like the bend scheme all that much, but for by the day I'm loving it more and more, because it's so subdued, it's so refined, and in a way that it doesn't shout for attention, scream for attention, and it's really good quality at that. So it's a really nice frame. It's a it's made in China, but I want to believe that it has the Cinelli quality control on it. And then I found out that this frame, that Cinelli made this Palio frame set, which was complete also with the clamp, but that I removed it for a lighter one, of course. But they made this frame with a BSA standard threaded bottom bracket with a 27.2 seat post diameter. It isn't an integrated headset because I find that, I don't know, in a few years we'll be seeing a lot of issues with the fully integrated cables, because you have to kind of fragilize the bit of the fork tube. So I want, when I buy something, I want to not worry about non-issues. So I want to stay on the safe side and on the upgradable side and not think about it. So this is only a routed frame, not a fully integrated headset head tube. So I wanted that. And what else? And it is a monocoque frame, meaning that it is very stiff and more reliable, and yeah, and that's that. Also, it was on sale, almost half price, bought it. And also, and yeah, sure, it's a Cinelli, which is a plus. And also, what else? If I remember, and the weight. It is 1 kilogram, the frame, 1 kilogram. No, it is 980 grams or 90 grams, the frame. It isn't the lightest, but it's kind of aero, and it's on things that are mechanical. You want, every time something is made of one material that could be light but it isn't, what it means that it is rigid. So what you're losing on lightweight, you're gaining on rigidity. I'm sorry about the wind. So it isn't the lightest, but it's so stiff. You can look at the bottom bracket and you can imagine how stiff this frame really is. And also the forks, they are 390 grams, not the lightest, but relatively light. And for what it is a disc specific fork, and it's rigid. And also the frame, every disc frame is a little bit heavier than its equivalent on the rim brake side of it. So it's a really solid frame. It's a really good frame. Then I wanted the bullhorn because it is not very common. If you think about it, it's very rare that you use the drops on longer distances. So you're always on the hoods, which means that all that part, that aero gains, you're not using them. So it's more weight. It's something that you rarely use on long distances. And also, that's I just didn't want it. I wanted tried something different, and I find this recipe really cool. So bull horns, I believe 400 millimeters, 140 grams, full carbon. These are China made. I made this cap. I had to cut another cap for this part of the handlebars, but now we have time trial 11 speed SRAM shifters. We have Magura MT4, I believe, brakes on the whole bike. Why? Because this is proven technology. I know there are brakes, hydraulic brakes for road use, also for time trial, but they are heavy, they are ugly, they are really expensive, they are not future proof, meaning I buy one today, tomorrow if I want to swap something, I have to buy the whole set. I don't want it. And they don't actually brake, they just slow you down. These brakes, this Magura, can be used on downhill with a 203 millimeter disc, so I know these are reliable. And each set of lever and caliper with the titanium hardware I put on it, and without the pads, are weighing 190 grams. I swapped not the levers, the blades for Carbotech ones, which have a really nice touch to it. 190 grams. There's no brake on the market that is as reliable, has mineral oil, one thing I wanted, has great stopping power, look this good, are future proof. This is something else. This is a work of art. I just don't like the thread they make, because they make the thread on this plastic. They call it Carbotech. Bullshit. It's just plastic. And this is a self-tapping bolt, now titanium, but the thread is kind of fragile. Nothing to worry about. If you lose the thread, you refill it with epoxy. At the same time, you put one bolt there and let it dry, and then take the bolt out, and you have new threads. So if you know how to do things, you'll be okay. Worst case scenario, you just buy a new lever, which is less than 50 bucks. It's not that expensive. So I bought the blades, which look way better than the stamped aluminium ones they have. I bought the titanium bolts, also titanium bolts on the inside. This is titanium. These are ceramic pads, which are great for all conditions and last a long time. This is the Ashima disc brake, 160 millimeter, because I can and I want, and it's just 2 grams heavier, 2 or 3 grams heavier than a 140 millimeter. I've also, these are titanium with carbon washers, just because. And this is an aluminium backed. These are aluminium backed, aluminium plated pads, so they are 10 grams or so lighter than the standard ones. However, these are heavier because they are metal or ceramic. So these are ceramics. So these are heavier. So these are 5 grams heavier. The other ones 5 grams lighter. So at the end, you offset that, and you get a great pair of brakes. Now, the Uno stem, of course, this is the last iteration of it. It has a different kind of clamp, and it's I wanted to say 8 grams lighter than the Uno 7. Also already with the titanium bolts, I switched them off, of course, for titanium. It doesn't come with, I guess it doesn't come with the titanium ones. Also, this is an Amazon clamp with titanium bolt, and this is the Billy Boney carbon. This is just a bit of a tape to see if it digs on the goes lower on the frame, just for a reference. Switched the, this is 111 grams, the seat post, with the bolts. Switched the bolts to golden titanium because it already comes with the titanium bolts. Cybid S2, 70 grams, I believe. Great solid piece of equipment. These are, of course, again, Ashima 140 millimeter disc. These are the, let me switch the bike to show you. Give me a second. Just give me a second. Don't want to scratch it. Give me a second. Alright, there you go. These are the Easton EC90. What you see on the frame is protection, also on the cranks. These are the carbon Easton EC90 with Shimano Spider, Shimano ring plate, aluminium bolts. This is a DM3 chain guide because I wanted to use a chain guide, so I didn't need to use a narrow wide chain ring. This is a KMC 11SL chain, all hollowed out, really light. This weighs at, the whole chain guide weighs at 36 grams. It's fully carbon, and I put the drilled titanium bolts on there. I had to machine that one because the crank arm was touching it, but it comes at 36 grams, the whole thing, so it's a good investment. These are caps I put on the frame, so I didn't need to use bolts and have this kind of cleaner look. This is the mechanical SRAM force derailleur with the short gauge and titanium bolts all over. That's a nylon bolt there, also a nylon bolt there. These bolts don't do anything. Now this is a drilled titanium bolt with a carbon washer too. This SRAM force is really light. The only thing missing are the carbon bolts, sorry, the titanium bolts there, but not a big deal. This is the 1125 Ultegra cassette, really good proposition from Shimano, and it works perfect with the SRAM drivetrain, of course. These are the Yolios. The wheels are the Yolios top of the range set 45 asymmetric wheels, and they come with the DT Swiss 350, and they weigh at 1 kilogram and 600 grams, a bit heavier uh, than what it is on the website. But I believe it's a again, what you gain on weight, you also gain on the stiffness part. So not too worried about. I got a bit sad with Yolio because I wanted the rims, the wheel set, not go over 1 kilogram and 500, and at least what they told on the website, and it went almost 100 grams above it. Yeah, it's 1 kilogram, 660 grams, something like that. So nothing major, but it gets to a point where you're at 1 kilogram. You're almost at 1 kilogram and 700 grams. So you couldn't make the argument of being 300 grams heavier than the wind space wheels, the hyper wheels. So 300 grams for rotational weights, it's kind of getting a lot. It's a bit of it. Now I understand that the wind spaces are a bit more expensive. They are not available in Europe, as far as I know. And at the time I bought these ones, they have carbon spokes, which can be a problem if you cannot find replacement. Not everyone knows how to work on them. Also, they are not asymmetric, which means that they are maybe not all that rigid. And because you can actually have carbon spokes, but if you load one of the sides too much, one side of the spokes too much, you're losing. Sorry about the train. You're losing a lot of how can I say it, capability of the carbon spokes, performance on of the carbon spokes, because you can have the most rigid spoke on the planet, but if you're not able to load it to its max, why do it on the first place? So these asymmetric rims allow you to load the spokes, the steel spokes, up to its maximum on each side, on every side. So I believe these ones may be more rigid than the wind space. It's just a belief. I cannot prove it. Also, they made this just for me. I asked them to not paint them and not put any Yolio stickers, because I wasn't the greatest fan of the Yolio font. It looks, how can I say, a bit childish with the rounded edges. Nothing here has rounded edges. Maybe the Cybid logo, but even that is a negative logo, so it's cool. The Olio, maybe a bit too shouty and a bit too childish. Just don't put it there. They only came with the lacquer on top of the carbon weave, and you can actually see the carbon, not with this lighting, but in person you can see the carbon weave on them. It's really similar to the carbon weave on the cranks. But yeah, the pedals, Egg Beaters 1 with a carbon spindle. What else? What else? The tires are Continental GP 5028 10 walls because they are the coolest tires. I'm not sure. They weigh at 240-50 grams each. They are a bit on the heavy side. Again, I'm not sure about the rolling resistance of these versus the Victoria's graphene, whatever, which are lighter than these ones, and I believe cheaper. But again, if they are cheaper, I believe they can be a bit crappier. I'm not sure. I decided to try these ones because I had them on 23 and I loved them. Now I have the Victorias on my single speed on 23. I have to try them, and then if I like them more than these ones, I'll switch them to Victorias, because the Victorias are cheaper than these ones. These are almost $50 each tire, which is ridiculous. It's almost as pricey as a budget car tire. It's out of control. These prices are out of control. Tubolito tubes, because the weight, that's it. You don't buy Tubolito not to puncture. They are the same thing. They puncture the same as regular tubes. You buy them for the weight, nothing else. What else? And yeah, a Sigma Rocks 2.0 GPS computer, a cheapo Amazon cap, Ritchie unidirectional carbon spacers. Why? I don't know, because they are cool. This the head bearings came with the frame. Again, the GPS, it's the 2.0 computer. It's everything I need. I just wanted something to count the kilometers and speed, nothing too major. It has the GPS, which is a plus. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. It has a great function, which is return to home. So if you give me a second, average speed, back to start. If you select this function, it will send you back home with the arrow, and you'll end up home at least back where you started. If you're lost, and if you use that function, which is I find it so awesome, and I'm so happy it has that. And if I ever buy a mountain bike, I'm buying again Sigma, because I already had Sigma computers, but basic ones, just because of that function. Because you tend to get lost a lot on mountain trails, and yeah, on roads you can at least ask someone where it is you want to go. On in the middle of the forest, not so much. And yeah, that's a bike. That's the geometry I wanted, because I'll be riding on the hoods most of the time, and it's really comfortable. You can grab this part in such a natural way and reach for the levers with no issue. This is just an ergonomic thing. These are basically hoods on a... This is basically... What I've made is basically a typical road setup without the drops, because if you see the brake levers, they are at the same point the regulars one are, the hoods the same. You just lose the drops. But I don't want to use the drops. I want this for long distances. So this is more elegant. I'm able to put there, you can call it downhill brake levers, and a brake set for downhill, which is reliable and cheap and upgradable and all that. And why not? It's so elegant, it's so aggressive, so it's such a beautiful thing. Now, I didn't try, I haven't tried the bike yet. It's just ready for a shakedown. I have to try everything on it and to see if everything. Well, I've tried the bike. It's awesome, but only for 1 or 2 kilometers. It's perfect. It's a monster of a bike. And I have to try it on long distances and do all kinds or all sorts of things like hills and all that. So I'll be uploading videos on each specific part. So if you want to buy each part, you have some background on them. But at least as is, it's just a road monster. It's perfect. I'll be upgrading. I'll be making riding videos and my opinion on the bike and all sorts of things. And if you have any questions about why something or how is it something, you can, or the weights of any component, please ask on the comments. I'll be answering them, and also if you have any suggestions or if you wanna swap some ideas, please be free to do so. We'll keep this. We'll continue this discussion, and we'll be seeing. I'll be seeing you soon. Take care.